Oh, really hearty ball, Tsukemen. This reminds me, there's another spot we have to go. Now we can talk. We are in Matsudo in Chiba, about an hour's train ride from Shinjuku, and we are about to experience what many consider to be the best ramen in Japan, Chuka Soba Tomita, helmed by Chef Osamu Tomita. Well, technically it's Tsukemen, which are dipping noodles. Tomita is consistently ranked at the top of well-known Japan ramen review site Ramen Suplex, and as of now, is ranked 4th nationwide. Based on our previous visits, it is definitely the best ramen that we have tried to date, regardless of ramen type. It's now 10 minutes past 8, and Tomita only opens at 11, so you're probably wondering why so early. Well, that's because Tomita is a chore to eat. Basically, they have a ticketing system. They start selling tickets at around 8 a.m. and you only get to eat starting from 11. We arrived at 7 and there were already 5 people ahead of us. So it is a queue to buy tickets so that you can queue later to eat ramen. Queueception. Anyway, we'll finally purchase our ramen tickets and we'll head back to Tomita at 11:20. Can't wait to savor this bowl of heavenly Tsukemen again. It's been 3 years. Look at the viscous looking broth. It's brimming with the umami of what we call the tonkotsu gyokai, which is basically pork broth and dry fish. And up top are some negi on the side. Beautifully shiny noodles. And of course we have got the full set, which means it comes with different cuts of pork cooked in different ways and the shumai. But let's start with the noodles first, and there's a way to eat a tomita. You start by just eating the noodles. Holy cow, best noodles ever. Very chewy. It's got a nice firm bite to it. It's got a bounce as well. And every bite, you taste the wheat flavors of the noodles. There's a wheat flavor. Now, second step, I'm going to mix my broth well, dip in the noodles, but they call it a half dip. You only dip half of it, and then you try it again. The broth is insane. It's so rich and so thick. The flavor of pork bones has been simmered for many hours and a very strong flavor of fish. Because basically what they do is they use a lot of niboshi, dried sardine flakes, and probably some katsuobushi as well, skipjack tuna. And it's just bringing with the flavor of sea and the pork. The pork creates this nice viscosity, like a creaminess. Really rich. It sort of punches you in the face with their saltiness, their robust flavor. And the noodles, they're so chewy. This is the most chewy noodles I've had in ramen. Very beautifully bouncy as well, so lively. I've got pieces of menma within as well, thick, cut in square sizes. Brimming with umami, maybe lightly marinated with some soy. So thick, so crunchy. Alright, now let's try out the sides. There are basically 4 types of char siu. The first piece is the rib, which is the traditional roasted pork, typical braised char siu. Beautiful balance between the tenderness and the fat, salty with the pork sweetness. Very good. Okay, next piece, shoulder loin. It has been hung over a fire grill and cooked. It's tender once again. It's got this little bit of like charred smokiness. Really nice. Alright, the next piece. Low temperature cooked pork, lightly salted. And you eat it on its own. And after that you try with some balsamic vinegar. It's got a stringiness to it. Oh, the pork, they've got different textures. The first piece is more fatty, second piece is more tender. But this, it's got a nice stringiness, almost like a chicken meat in a way. I'm gonna dip it in some noodles now. Really good balsamic. Gives it a nice tang, some sweetness. Okay, last piece of pork, the Thai meat braised and seasoned only with soy sauce. Oh, it's got a nice gelatinous texture on the side. See that? Oh, this is very good. This brings with soy sauce umami and sweetness. Right, this is really a great meal. Gonna finish up the noodles and then we'll try the sumo. This is one heck of a large shumai. So meaty, lightly flavored. It's got a nice oil flavor, some saltiness, sweetness. I think there are onions with it. The pork is cooked just right. It's pink, very thin skin. Oh, this is a very good shumai. Surprisingly, this is very good. I'm surprised. It's an addictive broth, so it cuts down on all that richness that you just had earlier. Delicious. Alright, I'm sorry if this is a bit rushed because actually everyone's eating really fast and it goes by batches, so we're gonna end it here. See you guys for plating time.
Hello guys, plating time.
First of all, apologies for how this vlog turned out. Even though Tomita-san was totally fine with us filming, it was really quiet in there. And I was whispering throughout the entire segment because the moment I started talking, the patrons all stared at me.
Yeah.
So it was, we didn't want to bother them too much.
Yeah.
Hence I was whispering.
So we hope the subtitle helps.
Yeah, you need to watch it with the subtitles. Also, it's an extreme challenge for us to film because the space is nearly non-existent as it was a counter seat and there was so much food on the table. Hence, you'll see my giant face up close to the screen every single time I eat because that's as far back as I could push my camera. However, I hope we did a decent enough job because we really want to share this experience with you guys. And with all that said, let's look at Chuka Soba Tomita. First thing that hits us is definitely the noodles. Beautiful looking noodles, despite it looking more pale yellow now, compared to 3 years back where it was more wheat coloured, like more brown. Still perfect from texture and flavour standpoint though.
Bouncy, lively, snappy with good chill, and the light flavour of it is quite intoxicating. It works well with a viscous, thick, rich broth too.
The broth is volcanic, it erupts with pork and fish umami, along with some grittiness. So rich, so explosive, amazing depth. Definitely the best Tsukemen dipping broth I've had to date. However, I did notice that Tomita-san seems to have changed his recipe for the broth as well, because it used to look exactly like Rokuricha's broth and taste similar, but with way more depth and way better richness. This time around it looks very clean, with kind of a curry-coloured, very viscous broth with a mound of negi on top. There's no gyofun, no naruto, and no nori inside. Flavour-wise, it's as rich and as deep, however it is also a lot more salty now, so it means that you can't fully dip your noodles into the broth. You can only do a half dip as recommended by Tomita-san, and that works really well. But what it means is that every single time, you come in contact with the noodles first before you are able to slurp up that rich, explosive broth. Yuzu seems to have been omitted from the dipping broth as well, only being added when you ask for soup wari. Now this is personal, but overall I felt that the previous iteration of the broth was a lot better balanced because it gives you a perfect ratio of saltiness, depth, richness, viscosity, and refreshing hints of yuzu. I think that is just amazing because you get to fully dip your noodles in and enjoy every single slurp of it. Yeah.
The assorted char siu was also different from before, but it's done just as well, each offering a different texture and flavour due to the cut and cooking technique. It feels like a tasting menu for char siu.
However, shumai feels like an odd addition to the set as this is a very filling meal and the gigantic shumai just adds to the heaviness of this meal. And all said and done, we had a blast at Tomita and it was really the best ramen that we have had to date, regardless of ramen type.
Yeah, so with that said, Tomita scored 1 plate on the gourmet plate, which means it's some high quality Tsukemen with the genius in its perfectly textured and flavor noodle, tasting menu like char siu and rich deep tasting tonkatsu pyokai broth.
Now, in its current state, is it still worthy to make the arduous journey to visit Tomita? 3 years back, I would have said yes, it was a no-brainer. Best Tsukemen/ramen, perfect Tsukemen, no weaknesses. But now, the broth is still very good. However, I really felt the previous iteration was much more better balanced. The current version seems to lack that magic to make you want to come back and visit, no matter how difficult the journey is. So I would say unless you're a ramen head, I think there is no need to go this far for a bowl of still admittedly amazing Tsukemen. It's just way too much time and effort to get to this bowl. Not to mention the price of this set of Tsukemen is 2,300 yen, which is a rather high price point. Now we did find out that they have a branch actually serving the original recipe. It's right next to Tokyo Station at Kite Mall called Matsudo Tomita Memban. We actually just tried it. Today is the second day, it's not the first day. Yesterday we had Tomita in Matsudo. The broth is definitely way more interesting, but the execution is way off. It's not even close to what Tomita-san used to be. It's now really like Rokuricha. As I was eating, I was like, this is Rokuricha's broth. The chashu is inedible, if I may. Ajitama is not great as well. So yeah, I think if you are here, you are probably better off eating Rokuricha. Hopefully I'm not being too harsh. Anyway, I think that's it for our food vlog for this week where we journeyed all the way to Matsudo to try out Chef Tomita's Tsukemen. Hopefully you have enjoyed this episode. If you did, do consider giving us a thumbs up. If you yet to subscribe, do consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell button. Next week we'll still be in Tokyo and we'll be eating more foods, so stay tuned and I'll see you next week. Bye!